On nights like this, I am supposed to be invisible. That is the first lesson anyone learns working inside the Whitmore penthouse. Move quietly. Speak only when necessary. Observe everything, but let nothing appear on your face. And tonight, invisibility feels harder than usual. Outside the glass walls of the penthouse, Manhattan glows beneath fresh snowfall. Christmas lights stretch across the streets like rivers of gold. From 40 stories above, the city looks calm, almost peaceful. But inside the Whitmore residence, the atmosphere is loud with wealth and celebration. Crystal glasses clink. Expensive laughter fills the air. A pianist plays soft holiday music near the marble staircase while servers circulate trays of champagne. It is the annual Whitmore Christmas Charity Gala. For the guests it is an evening of generosity and prestige. For the staff it is choreography. Every movement rehearsed, every gesture precise. I move through the room carrying a tray of glasses, careful not to disturb the flow of conversations happening around me. Men in tailored suits discuss acquisitions. Women wrapped in designer dresses talk about vacation homes and winter retreats. Sometimes they glance at me, but not really at me. To them, I am part of the furniture. A quiet presence in a black uniform. I learned long ago not to take it personally. Still, certain comments find ways to linger. Near the balcony doors, a group of guests lowers their voices as I pass. One woman gives me a tight smile before whispering to the man beside her. She must be one of the new hires. They're really diversifying the staff lately. The man chuckles. I keep walking. Professionalism is armor, silence is survival. The tray in my hands remains steady. Across the room, standing near the towering Christmas tree is the man responsible for everything here. Alexander Whitmore. Even from a distance. He commands the room without speaking. He is taller than most of the men around him, his posture straight, his expression controlled. His reputation in New York's business world is almost mythical. Tech billionaire. Ruthless strategist. A man known for discipline so strict it borders on coldness. Most people say he built his empire through sheer focus. Others say he built it by never allowing emotion to interfere with power. Tonight though, something feels different. At first I notice it in small details. The way he grips his glass, the way he critishes it too quickly. Then another appears in his hand. And another. Alexander Whitmore does not drink like this. Everyone in the household knows that. His routines are precise, predictable. But tonight he is already on his fourth glass. I watch quietly as he listens to a group of aid donations. His face remains composed, but there is a weight behind his eyes that wasn't there earlier. Something heavy. Something private. The party grows louder as the night deepens. Music rises. Laughter becomes less restrained. Guests who arrived polished and composed begin leaning too close to one another, their voices thick with alcohol and comfort. For them, this is celebration. For me, it is observation. I move through the room clearing empty glasses, noticing the subtle shift in Alexander Whitmore's posture. The control he usually carries like armor begins slipping. At one point, a senior executive claps him on the shoulder. Whitmore forces a smile, but it fades quickly. Another drink appears in his hand. That is when I realize something is wrong. Not drunkenness, something deeper. Around midnight, the party begins dissolving the way wealthy gatherings often do. Guests leave gradually, their laughter trailing down the hallway toward the elevators. Chauffeurs are called. Coats are retrieved. Within an hour, the penthouse grows quieter, the piano stops, the investors disappear, the laughter fades. And what remains is the aftermath. Half-empty glasses. Wrinkled tablecloths. And Alexander Whitmore sitting alone at the window with another drink in his hand. The estate manager, Mr. Langford, approaches me while I gather plates from a nearby table. His voice stays low. Whitmore shouldn't be driving tonight. I glance toward the window again. Whitmore stares out at the snowy city as if he barely notices the room around him. Mr. Langford sighs. Could you take him home, Ava? The driver left an hour ago. I nod immediately. Responsibility has a finding the quietest person in the room. A few minutes later I approach Whitmore carefully. Up close the change in him is impossible to ignore. His eyes are tired. Not the tiredness of a long workday. The kind that settles deep inside someone. He stands slowly when I tell him the car is ready. For a moment he sways slightly. steadying himself on the edge of the table. The powerful billionaire suddenly looks human. Fragile in a way no the room would ever expect. Snow falls softly outside as I guide him toward the elevator and down to the private garage. The black sedan waits beneath dim overhead lights. I open the passenger door and help him inside. The silence between us feels heavier than the entire party upstairs. For a moment he doesn't move. He just sits there staring forward. That is when I notice something strange. His hand is tightly gripping a folded piece of paper. And when he finally lifts his head, the expression on his face makes my chest tighten. It is not the look of a man who drank too much. It is the look of someone carrying a truth too heavy to survive alone. And suddenly, I realize this night is far from over. The engine hums softly as I guide the black sedan out of the Whitmore garage and onto the snow-dotted streets of Manhattan. For a moment, neither of us speaks. The city feels different at this hour. Christmas lights glow along the avenues, wrapping storefronts and lampposts in soft colors. Snow falls in slow, quiet spirals under the streetlights, turning the sidewalks silver. Manhattan is never truly silent, but tonight it feels close. Inside the car, the warmth of the heater contrasts with the cold outside. The leather seats carry the faint scent of expensive cologne and polished wood. In the rearview mirror, I watch Alexander Whitmore. His head rests slightly against the window. Most people in the world would expect a billionaire to look powerful even when drunk. Larger than life, untouchable. But the man in the passenger seat looks tired. Not the kind of tired that sleep fixes. His shoulders are heavy, like he has been carrying something for far too long. For several blocks. The only sound in the car is the quiet rhythm of the tires pressing through snow, then I hear it. His breathing uneven. I glance into the mirror again. His eyes are open now, staring through the windshield as if he is looking past the city entirely. For a moment I wonder if I should say something. But working in houses like the Whitmore residence teaches you boundaries quickly. Staff are meant to assist, not interfere. Still, something about tonight feels different. The party upstairs flashes through my mind. The forced smiles, the endless glasses of champagne. The way executives praised Whitmore like he was made of steel. Yet the man sitting beside me now looks like someone barely holding himself together. Power can hide many things. But not everything. We stop at a red light near Fifth Avenue. Snowflakes drift past the windshield in slow motion. That is when I notice the paper. It is still in his hand. The same folded letter he was holding earlier in the garage. His fingers grip it tightly, almost protectively, like it is the only thing keeping him grounded. Curiosity presses quietly against my. It's not curiosity about gossip. Something deeper. Concern. The light changes to green and the car begins moving again. A few minutes pass before Whitmore finally speaks. His voice is quieter than I expected. Do you always drive this carefully? The question catches me off guard. I glance at him briefly before returning my eyes to the road. Yes, sir. A faint, tired smile touches the corner of his mouth. Most people rush through this city like time is chasing them. His voice fades slightly. Like the thought disappeared before it could finish forming. I hesitate before responding. Sometimes slowing down is the only way to see what's actually happening. The words slip out before I can stop them. For a moment I worry I've said too much. Employees are not supposed to offer wisdom to billionaires. But Whitmore doesn't react with irritation. Instead, he lets out a quiet breath, almost like a laugh but without humor. You're probably right. Silence settles again. Outside, Christmas decorations blur past the windows. A group of late-night shoppers crosses the street carrying gift bags and laughing. The world still feels festive. But inside the car the atmosphere grows heavier. Whitmore shifts slightly in his seat. That is when his breathing changes again. Slow. His hand tightens around the folded paper. Then, almost under his breath, he murmurs something. Strange how everything looks the same even when everything changes. I am not sure if the words are meant for me. Or for himself. A long stretch of road opens ahead of us. Snow continues falling, the city feels distant. My eyes drift to the rearview mirror again, and this time I see something I did not expect, moisture gathering in his eyes. Not dramatic, not obvious but unmistakable, Alexander Whitmore. The man who built an empire worth billions, looks like someone standing at the edge of something he cannot control. I feel the urge to ask what is wrong. But the words stay trapped behind professionalism. Instead I focus on the road. A red light appears ahead and I slow the car to a stop. For a few seconds, the only sound inside the vehicle is the ticking of the turn signal. Then it happens. Whitfolded letter slips from his fingers. It drifts slowly onto the floor between us. Neither of us moves immediately. The paper unfolds slightly as it lands. Just enough for a few lines of text to become visible in the dim dashboard light. I don't mean to look. But my eyes catch the words before I can stop them. And the moment I read them my heart stops. Printed clearly across the top of the page are NWARDAGDC WARP, my breath catches. Beneath it, a sentence stands out like a warning written in stone. Stage IV progression confirmed. The light above the intersection turns green. But for a second, I forget how to breathe. Because suddenly the man sitting beside me isn't just a powerful hiding exhaustion. He's a man who might be dying. And judging by the silence in the car, I realize something even more terrifying. I may be the only person in the world who knows. The green light glows above the intersection, but for a moment my hands remain frozen on the steering wheel. The words on the paper are burned into my mind. Oncology diagnostic report. Stage IV progression confirmed. I quickly look away, forcing my eyes back on the road as the car begins to move again. I was not supposed to see that. People like Alexander Whitmore live in a world built on privacy. Power protects them. Secrets stay hidden behind lawyers, assistants, and closed doors. And yet somehow, in the quiet of this car, one of his biggest secrets has fallen directly into my view. My chest feels tight. Not from fear. From something else, understanding. The paper still lies partially unfolded on the floor between us. I keep my eyes forward, pretending I saw nothing. That is the rule in houses like this. Staff notice everything but acknowledge nothing. Still my mind refuses to let it go. The car moves slowly through the snow-covered avenue. Holiday lights blur across the windshield like streaks of gold. Beside me, Whitmore hasn't moved. His hand rests loosely against the seat, empty now that the letter has slipped away. I wonder if he even noticed. Then his voice breaks the silence. Quiet. Barely more than a breath. Funny how the body decides when it's finished. The words hang in the air between us. I glance at him quickly. His eyes remain fixed on the road ahead, but they are distant like he's speaking to someone far away. Or maybe to himself. For several seconds I say nothing. Then, carefully, I speak. Sometimes doctors get things wrong. It's not the most professional thing to say, but it feels wrong to stay completely silent. Whitmore lets out a soft, tired exhale. Not this time. His gaze drifts toward the window where snowflakes slide slowly down the glass. I've built companies worth billions, he continues quietly. Negotiated deals that moved entire markets. His fingers curl slightly against the seat. But this isn't something money negotiates with. The car grows quieter. His words confirm what I already saw. The letter wasn't a mistake. And suddenly the man sitting beside me no longer looks like the untouchable billionaire the world admires. He looks like someone standing at the edge of a clock that has already started ticking. Whitmore's breathing's uneven again. Strange thing about time. He murmurs. Another pause. Everyone thinks they have more of it. His voice carries a weight I recognize. Not panic. Not anger, something heavier. Resignation. I swallow quietly, trying to focus on the road. Because in this moment I realize something deeply unsettling. Alexander Whitmore might be facing this completely alone. Power isolates people. I've seen it before in wealthy households. Friends become business partners, family becomes distant, and vulnerability becomes dangerous. I think about the guests at the party earlier. The executives laughing, praising Whitmore like he was invincible. None of them knew the truth sitting folded in that letter. Or maybe they wouldn't care if they did. The car moves through another quiet street. Snow continues falling softly over Manhattan. For a moment, I think about my own life. The small apartment in Harlem. The 2 jobs I worked before this one. The nights I lay awake worrying about bills. People often assume struggle only belongs to those without money. But suffering belongs to everyone. Just in different forms. Whitmore shifts slightly in his seat. His voice comes again, quieter this time. "I didn't tell anyone." The statement surprises me. I glance toward him briefly. Not the board. Not the press. Not even my sister. His jaw tightens slightly. They'd panic. Investors would run. My entire company would become a countdown clock. His head leans back against the seat, so I kept working. Pretending. He gives a faint, humorless smile. Turns out pretending gets exhausting. His words settle heavily inside the car. For the first time tonight, I realize something that makes my chest ache. The world sees Alexander Whitmore as a symbol of power. But right now, he is just a man who received terrible news. And somehow, by accident, I became the only witness to it. The road ahead curves toward the private entrance of the Whitmore estate. Tall iron gates appear in the distance, dusted with fresh snow. The mansion beyond them rises like a quiet fortress against the winter sky. I slow the car as the security system recognizes the vehicle and begins opening the gates. The tires crunch softly against the gravel driveway. For a moment, everything feels strangely calm, too calm. Then Whitmore's breathing suddenly changes, sharp, uneven. I glance at him quickly. His hand moves weakly toward his chest. "Sir?" I ask. No response. The car rolls slowly toward the front entrance of the mansion. Then suddenly his body slumps sideways in the seat. His head drops against the door. The folded medical letter slides further across the floor. And in that terrifying moment I realize Alexander Whitmore has just collapsed beside me. For a split second, my mind refuses to accept what just happened. Alexander Whitmore, one of the most powerful men in New York, is slumped motionless in the passenger seat beside me. "Mr. Whitmore." No response. The mansion looms ahead of us, its massive windows glowing softly in the winter night. Snow continues drifting down, covering the driveway in a quiet blanket of white. But inside the car, panic tries to creep into my chest. I force it down. Panic doesn't solve problems. Action does. I throw the car into park and rush around to the passenger side, my shoes crunching against frozen gravel. Cold air hits my face as I pull the door open. Whitmore's body leans heavily against the seatbelt. His skin looks pale under the dim garage lights. "Mr. Whitmore, can you hear me?" For a terrifying moment he doesn't move. Then his chest rises slightly. He's breathing. Relief washes over me, but only briefly. Breathing isn't enough. He needs help. I quickly unfasten the seatbelt and brace my shoulder against him, trying to support his weight. He's taller than I realized. Heavier too. The moment he shifts forward, most of his weight collapses against me. For a second my balance nearly gives out. But I hold him upright. "Stay with me," I murmur, though I'm not sure if he can hear. The front doors of the mansion are still 20 yards away. Security should be nearby. But the driveway is empty. Too empty. It's past midnight. Most of the staff left after the party ended. And suddenly I realize something unsettling. In this enormous estate I might be the only one here. Snow gathers on Whitmore's coat as I slowly guide him toward the entrance. Every step feels heavier than the last. The wind cuts through my uniform, sharp and cold. But adrenaline keeps me moving. Finally, we reach the massive front doors. I shove them open with my shoulder. Warm air rushes out to meet us. Inside, the mansion is silent. The towering ceilings, the marble floors, the enormous staircase, everything feels too still. The place that held hundreds of guests only an hour ago now feels like an empty cathedral. I guide Whitmore toward the nearest couch in the main lounge and ease him down carefully. His breathing remains shallow. My hands move quickly now. I grab the phone from the nearby table and dial emergency services. The operator answers almost immediately. "My employer collapsed," I say, forcing my voice to stay steady. "Possible medical emergency. Breathing but unconscious." She asks questions. Location, condition, age. I answer everything as clearly as I can. An ambulance is dispatched. Estimated arrival: 8 minutes. 8 minutes suddenly feels like a lifetime. I set the phone down and kneel beside the couch. Whitmore's eyes remain closed. Up close, the powerful billionaire looks completely different than the man the world sees. The control is gone. The sharp confidence. The intimidating presence. What remains is simply a man who looks exhausted beyond words. I gently shake his shoulder. "Mr. Whitmore, you need to stay awake." His eyelids flicker slightly. Not enough. I glance around the massive living room. Earlier tonight it was filled with powerful voices, laughter, and music. Now it feels hollow, lonely. The home of a billionaire should feel alive. But in this moment it feels strangely abandoned. I think again about the letter, stage IV, immediate treatment required. A secret heavy enough to crush anyone, and he's been carrying it alone. I lean closer, Miss Whitmore. The ambulance is coming, I say quietly. You just have to stay with me a little longer. For a moment nothing happens. Then slowly, painfully his eyelids begin to open. His gaze is unfocused at first. But gradually it settles on me. For the first time tonight, Alexander Whitmore truly looks at me. Not through me, not past me, at me. Recognition slowly appears in his tired eyes. Yo, his voices. I lean closer so he doesn't have to strain. Yes sir. I'm here. His expression shifts slightly, like he's trying to process something. Then his gaze drifts briefly around the empty mansion, the quiet room, the silence. When his eyes return to me, something fragile appears there. Not fear. Not exactly. Something closer to truth. His voice drops to a whisper so soft I almost miss it. Do you know why I didn't tell anyone? I hesitate. No. A faint, sad smile touches his lips. Because the moment people know you're dying, they stop seeing you as human. His eyes hold mine with a strange intensity. They start seeing opportunity. His breathing falters again. I hear distant sirens echoing somewhere beyond the gates. The ambulance. But Whitmore's grip suddenly tightens weakly around my sleeve. And the next words he whispers send a chill through my entire body. Someone at that party tonight already knows. His words linger in the air like frost. Someone at that party tonight already knows. For a moment I forget about the sirens growing louder outside the gates. My mind circles around what he just said. Someone already knows, which means this secret, the one buried inside that medical letter, may not be as hidden as he believes. I lean closer, keeping my voice calm. What do you mean, sir? Whitmore's breathing is still uneven, but his eyes remain open now, focused on the ceiling above us. The chandeliers reflect faint light across the marble floors. I made one mistake. He murmurs, just one. His voice sounds distant. Like he's replaying something in his mind. 3 weeks ago I went to the hospital alone. Thought I could slip in quietly. Get answers without anyone noticing. He lets out a weak breath. But someone from the company saw me there. I feel a chill run down my spine. Corporate executives circle wealth like sharks circle blood. If anyone inside his empire suspects weakness, the consequences could be enormous. The diagnosis came that same day. He continues softly. Stage 4. He pauses for a moment, closing his eyes briefly. I didn't even finish reading the report before I realized what it meant. His hand shifts weakly across the couch. Every board member, every investor, every rival company. He swallows slowly. They'd all start calculating. Outside, the ambulance sirens grow closer. Blue and red light flashes faintly through the tall windows of the mansion. Whitmore notices it too. They're here already. His voice carries something strange now. Not relief. Something closer to hesitation. I stand, moving toward the front doors to let the paramedics in. But before I reach the hallway, Whitmore's voice stops me. Wait. It isn't loud, but it's firm. I turn back toward him. The sirens grow louder outside. Tires crunching across the snow-covered driveway. Sir, you need medical attention, I say carefully. I know. He slowly pushes himself up slightly on the couch, though the effort clearly costs him. His eyes lock onto mine again. Listen to me for a moment. I hesitate, torn between urgency and the strange seriousness in his voice. Then the doorbell rings. Sharp, urgent. The paramedics. Whitmore exhales slowly. I'm not afraid of dying, he says quietly. The sentence catches me off guard. I'm afraid of what happens before that. His voice lowers further. If the board finds out I'm sick, they'll remove me as CEO within days. Another breath. Investors will panic. Stock prices will collapse. Thousands of employees could lose their jobs before Christmas. The weight of his words settles heavily in the room. For the first time, I begin to understand the kind of pressure he's carrying. This isn't just a personal crisis. It's a corporate earthquake waiting to happen. The doorbell rings again, more insistent. Whitmore closes his eyes briefly. I needed time, he says. Just a few months to restructure things quietly. He opens his eyes again. But someone at that party tonight was watching me. His jaw tightens slightly. And if they confirm what they suspect. He doesn't finish the sentence. He doesn't need to. Power attracts ambition, and ambition rarely waits patiently. I hear voices outside now. The paramedics calling through the door. "Sir, emergency medical services." I glance toward the hallway, then back at him. "You need treatment," I insist gently. Whitmore studies my face for a long moment. Then something unexpected happens. He shakes his head. "I'm not going with them." The words feel surreal. "I can't risk it," he says. "Hospital records. Staff conversations. Word travels fast in this city." "But you collapsed." I'm still breathing. The calm certainty in his voice unsettles me. For a moment I wonder if exhaustion has affected his judgment. But then he says something that stops my thoughts completely. "I've survived worse nights than this." His gaze drifts briefly across the massive, empty mansion. "And most of those nights, I survived alone." There it is again, loneliness. The kind that wealth can't fix. The doorbell rings for the third time. Louder now. Whitmore slowly reaches toward the table beside him, grabbing the folded medical from where it slid earlier. Then he looks back at me. And his next words change everything. "Ava," he says quietly. It's the first time he's used my name. "I need a favor." My heart begins to beat faster. Not because of fear. Because something in his voice tells me this moment matters more than happened tonight. "What kind of favor?" I ask carefully. Whitmore holds the letter in his trembling hand. Then he looks directly at me. "I need you to keep this secret." My breath catches. The doorbell rings again. But Whitmore doesn't break eye contact. "Just for a little while," he continues softly. "Until I can fix what needs fixing." The request hangs heavily between us. Because in that moment I realize something terrifying. If I agree, I won't just be a maid in this house anymore. I'll become the guardian of a secret powerful enough to destroy everything Alexander Whitmore built. The flashing ambulance lights spill through the tall windows, painting the marble floor in restless shades of red and blue. For a moment, everything inside between two choices. Or silence. Whitmore is still watching me from the couch, his breathing steadier now but his eyes carrying the same quiet weight. "I need time," he had said. And somehow, in that moment, I understood something that surprised even me. Some people lie to protect themselves. But the man in front of me was trying to protect thousands of people who depended on him. I walk toward the door and open it, before the paramedics can knock again. Two men rush inside with equipment. "Where's the patient?" I glance back toward the lounge where Whitmore sits upright now. Looking far less fragile than he did a few minutes ago. "He's conscious," I explain. "He had dizziness and fatigue after the party." The paramedics quickly move toward him, checking his pulse and blood pressure. Whitmore answers their questions calmly, too calmly. Finally, one of them looks up. "We should take you to the hospital for observation, sir." Whitmore gives a polite, controlled smile. "I appreciate that, but it won't be necessary." They exchange skeptical looks. "You collapsed," the older paramedic insists. Whitmore shrugs slightly. "Too much champagne and not enough food." His tone carries the same quiet authority that probably commands boardrooms. After another brief check, the paramedics reluctantly accept his refusal. Within minutes, the flashing lights outside disappear into the snowy night. And just like that, the mansion returns to silence. Whitmore leans back against the couch, closing his eyes for a moment. "You didn't tell them," he says quietly. I shake my head. "You asked me not to." His eyes open again. For a long moment, he studies me as if trying to understand something deeper than my words. "Most people would have taken advantage of that information," he says. "Most people aren't housemaids." A faint smile touches his lips. "No," he agrees. "They aren't." That night becomes the beginning of something neither of us planned. Not friendship. Not exactly, something quieter. Something built slowly on trust. Over the following weeks, life inside the Whitmore mansion continues almost as normal. Almost. Whitmore returns to work the very next morning as if nothing happened. Meetings resume. Investors visit. Business calls echo through his office. From the outside, nothing has changed. But I notice the difference. Sometimes it's small things. The way he pauses longer while looking out the window before leaving for work. The way he occasionally asks how the staff are doing. Once, during breakfast service, he even asked about my commute across the city. A simple question. But the kitchen staff notices immediately. Since when does Whitmore talk to the help? One of the housekeepers whispers. Another smirks. Maybe he's trying to collect diversity points. The words are quiet, but sharp enough to sting. I say nothing. I've learned that dignity sometimes means refusing to answer insults. Still, the rumors grow. Some staff assume Whitmore favors me because of that night. Others assume something worse. One afternoon I overhear a visiting executive make a comment while walking past the hallway. I didn't realize Whitmore's charity work extended to personal staff promotions. His colleague laughs quietly. The words sit heavy in the air long after they leave. But Whitmore never acknowledges any of it. Instead, something about him continues to shift. He becomes less distant, less mechanical. One evening, while reviewing documents in his study, he asks a question that surprises me. Ava, have you ever noticed how quiet this house is? I glance around the massive room. The towering shelves, the expensive art, the silence. I admit. He studies the fire burning in the fireplace. For years I thought silence meant success. His voice softened slightly. Now it just feels empty. That is the moment I begin to understand something. Power isolates people, and loneliness often hides behind success. In the weeks that follow, Whitmore starts making subtle changes. Longer conversations with employees. Unexpected donations to charities he once ignored. And sometimes quiet moments where he simply sits and thinks. Not like a billionaire calculating profit. Like a man reconsidering his life. But secrets have a way of shaping the future. And one cold morning, just as the first snow of the new year settles across Manhattan, the estate manager finds me in the hallway. Whitmore would like to see you in his office. The request alone makes the staff glance up. Housemaids don't get summoned to the executive office. When I step inside, Whitmore stands near the window overlooking the city. The same skyline where this story quietly began. He turns slowly. His expression is calm. Decisive. Ava, he says, there's something I need to announce today. I wait, unsure what he means. Whitmore picks up a folder from his desk. And the next words he says send a shock through my chest. I've decided to change your position in this house. Whitmore's words hang in the quiet air of his office. I've decided to change your position in this house. For a moment I'm certain I misunderstood him. The office feels larger than usual this morning. Floor-to-ceiling windows reveal a Manhattan skyline washed in pale winter sunlight. Cars move like distant shadows far below. Whitmore studies me calmly, waiting for my reaction. My mind races through every possible interpretation. Have I done something wrong? Did the rumors finally reach him? Sir, I say carefully, keeping my posture straight. If there's been a complaint about my work. There hasn't. His voice is calm but firm. He walks slowly toward the desk and opens the folder resting there. Inside are documents. Not employment records. Something else. I've spent the past few weeks reviewing my personal foundation, he says, the Whitmore Initiative. I nod slightly. Everyone in the household knows the name. The foundation donates millions every year, mostly to high-profile charities. Galas, fundraisers, media appearances. But something in his tone suggests this conversation isn't about publicity. I built that foundation years ago, he continues, mostly because wealthy people are expected to have one. His gaze shifts briefly toward the window, but expectation isn't purpose. He closes the folder slowly. I want to restructure it. I remain silent, unsure why he's telling me this. Then he says something that sends a ripple of confusion through my chest. And I want you involved. For a moment, the room feels very still. Sir, I'm a housemaid. You're also the most honest person in this house. The words arrive without hesitation. Whitmore moves around the desk and leans lightly against its edge. For years I surrounded myself with advisors, he says. Lawyers. Executives. Consultants. His expression grows thoughtful. They're all brilliant. But none of them ever reminded me what ordinary life actually looks like. His eyes settle on me again. You did. I feel a strange mixed discomfort and disbelief. I only drove you home that night. You did more than that. He pauses. You treated me like a human being when everyone else treated me like an institution. The weight of the statement fills the room. For a moment I don't know how to respond. Whitmore straightens slightly. I'm creating a new advisory role inside the foundation, he says. Someone who represents real people, not corporate interests. My voice comes out softer than I expect. And you think that person should be me? Yes, the answer arrives immediately. Outside the office door, I hear quiet footsteps passing down the hallway. Staff moving through their morning routines. None of them know what is happening inside this room. And if they did, the reaction would be explosive. Whitmore seems to sense my hesitation. You wouldn't stop being part of the household, he says. Your role would simply expand. I take a slow breath. With respect. Sir, people will talk. He smiles faintly. They already are. That part, unfortunately, is true. Word travels quickly inside wealthy homes. By the time I leave his office, the atmosphere in the mansion has already shifted. The estate manager notices immediately when I walk back into the service hallway. So, he says quietly, what did Mr. Whitmore want? Work matters. It's the safest answer I can give, but the staff still watch me differently. Suspicion spreads faster than facts. Later that afternoon, while organizing linens in the laundry room, I overhear two housekeepers whispering. She was in his office for almost an hour. Maybe he's planning to promote her. A short laugh follows. Or maybe he just likes having someone around who looks like good publicity. The comment lands like a small stone in my chest. I continue folding towels without reacting. Silence has always been my shield. Still, the tension inside the mansion grows during the following days. Executives visiting Whitmore notice me in meetings. Staff members exchange glances when he asks my opinion about small things. Rumors expand quietly. Some polite. Others cruel. But Whitmore never changes his behavior. If anything, he becomes more open. One evening, after a long meeting with board advisors, he pauses near the kitchen doorway while I'm cleaning the counters. You handled today well, he says. I only listened. Listening is rare. He studies the quiet room for a moment. Do you know why I trust you? I shake my head. He answers with surprising honesty. Because you've never once tried to gain anything from me. The words settle heavily in the room. For someone in my position. He continues quietly. That's almost impossible to find. For a moment neither of us speaks. Then Whitmore's phone vibrates on the table beside him. He glances down at the screen. The name displayed there seems to drain the calm from his face. His doctor. He answers the call immediately. I try not to listen, but the shift in his expression is impossible to ignore. The calm confidence disappears. His shoulders stiffen, his voice becomes quieter. Yes, I understand. A long pause follows, too long. Then he says something that makes my stomach tighten. How much time? Silence fills the kitchen. Finally Whitmore lowers the phone slowly. The color has drained from his face. And when he looks up at me, the truth in his eyes is devastating. Because whatever the doctor just told him, it's far worse than the diagnosis he received before. Whitmore's phone remains in his hand long after the call ends. The silence in the kitchen feels heavier than anything we've faced before. Snow falls quietly outside the tall windows, dusting the gardens with white. The same winter calm that filled the city the night everything began. I wait, not asking questions, not forcing words. Some truths arrive slowly. Finally, Whitmore exhales and places the phone on the table. His voice is quieter than I have ever heard it. The treatment isn't working the way they hoped. The words land softly, but their meaning echoes through the room. He walks toward the window and looks out across the dark lawn. For a long time I thought success meant control, he continues. Control over markets, over outcomes, over time. A faint smile appears though there is no humor in it. Turns out time never belonged to me. I feel a familiar ache in my chest. But something else is there too. Acceptance. Because despite the terrible news, Whitmore is not the same man I met that Christmas night. Over the following months, his life begins to shift in ways no one inside the company expected. The Whitmore initiative transforms almost overnight. The glossy charity galas disappear. The media campaigns fade. In their place, something quieter begins to grow. Real programs, real funding, real people. Whitmore starts visiting community centers across New York personally. Schools in struggling neighborhoods receive new technology grants. Shelters receive funding for winter housing programs. The billionaire who once spent his life inside boardrooms, now spends hours listening to families explain what they actually need. And somehow my life changes along with his. At first my role inside the foundation is small. advisory meetings, community feedback, helping Whitmore understand the daily struggles many wealthy donors overlook. But over time, he trusts me with more responsibility, more decisions. Eventually something unexpected happens. People stop seeing me as the maid. They start seeing me someone whose voice matters. Not everyone accepts it. Some executives quietly resist my presence in meetings. Once, during a corporate planning session, a visiting board member glances at me with obvious skepticism. I assume she's here for diversity optics. The room goes silent. Whitmore doesn't raise his voice. But the calm firmness in his response changes the entire atmosphere. She's here because she understands the world outside this building better than any of us. The executive never questions my presence again. Months pass. Spring arrives, then summer, and slowly, the cold emptiness that once defined the Whitmore mansion begins to fade. The house grows alive. Foundation staff move through the halls discussing projects. Volunteers gather in the library for planning meetings. Families from across the city visit during community events. The mansion that once felt like a museum of wealth becomes something entirely different. A place where people actually matter. One evening, nearly a year after that snowy night, Whitmore and I stand on the balcony overlooking Manhattan. The city lights stretch endlessly into the distance. Funny thing about power, he says quietly. You spend your whole life chasing it only to realize influence means nothing if it doesn't help someone. I glance toward him. The illness has changed him physically. He looks thinner now, more fragile. But something in his eyes shines brighter than before. Purpose, do you regret anything? I ask. He considers the question carefully. Yes. A pause follows. I regret waiting so long to start living like this. The wind carries the faint sound of Christmas music drifting up from the streets below. The city is celebrating again, another December. Another holiday season. Nearly 1 year since the night that changed everything. The foundation hosts its first community Christmas gathering inside the mansion that week. Families fill the once silent halls. Children run across the marble floors laughing. Volunteers decorate the enormous tree with handmade ornaments. Watching it all unfold feels surreal. Because I remember how quiet this place used to be. Later that evening Whitmore finds me near the staircase. He hands me a small envelope. What's this? I ask. Open it. Inside is a document. Official signed. My name sits printed across the top. Director of Community Programs, Whitmore Initiative. I look up at him, stunned. You built this, he says simply. You just didn't realize it. Emotion rises unexpectedly in my chest. I was just doing my job. Whoa, his voice carries quiet certainty. You were doing something far more important. Round us. The mansion glows with warmth and laughter, proof that even the quietest moments can reshape a life. Whitmore looks out across the room one more time. The strange thing about that night, he says thoughtfully, is that everyone thought the most important person at that party was the billionaire. He pauses. Then looks directly at me. But the person who changed everything was the woman no one noticed. And as the snow begins falling again outside the mansion windows, I realize something powerful. Sometimes the smallest act of kindness can rewrite 2 lives forever. If the story touched your heart, like, share and subscribe my channel. Bless you all, my beautiful family.